Here we go. Oh, I'm excited to put this one out. I got to do it, y'all. I got to do it. I'm sorry. I apologize, but it's time we did it. Okay? I have put out videos about Attila. What you're going to see from Attila. What you're going to see from Attila and Subutai. What are the best rallies? What are the best garrisons? Yada, 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 yada. I've said it all. All right? But now we just need to do an Attila guide because he's back to being field meta. And I'll explain that in a bit. It's going to shock you, but it makes sense when you think about it. Like it or not, I don't care what y'all think. I know he's a 4-year-old commander. Doesn't matter. Everything has changed with all the new commanders. Everything has changed with the artifact. Everything has changed with the formations. And this dude is a priority. No longer niche. He's a priority because he's a part of everything. Mark my words. You're going to be a better player with Attila than you are without him. It's your boy Chadsky. I put out videos all the time. Okay? The channel has absolutely blown up. So many public Discord servers are helping out the channel and driving people to it. If you're not a member, consider doing so. If you're not subscribed, if you do that, it doesn't cost you anything and it really helps out the channel. Okay? And so from that standpoint, if you like the videos, throw a thumbs up on it and help out with the likes. It really helps out the channel. If you want to be a part of the community where a lot of these conversations come into play, check out my Discord link in the description. Okay? It's easy. Go to my Discord. It is a fun-loving, all-positive kind of Discord. We get in there and cook. We get in there and talk about all the different mechanics of the game. It is a great place to learn how to play. It's a great place to, be at the cutting edge of what's coming next. It's so much of what my channel does is pretty amazing. So consider joining that. Okay, so let's get into this and let's talk about our boy. Okay, first thing we're going to do is talk skills. Okay. And when we do, it's pretty simple. He still has some of the most broken skills in the game. Of course, on his active skill, the main thing for him is for 4 seconds, he does more normal damage, 30% more and 30% counterattack damage. That is insane. That's absolutely insane what this guy does, especially now with the arch armaments and especially now with the smite commanders and the combo commanders that get the bonus from normal damage. It's crazy what this guy does. All right, he also does an attack reduction on the target of 50%. That's awesome. Okay, when you're rallying and garrison, that's great. In the field, it's kind of okay, but at the same time, anytime you can reduce any attribute, if it's a 30% defense or a 20% health, we love that, right? Well, 50% attack is pretty freaking good. Still, to this day, that's that's the highest percentage reduction off of an active skill of any commander. Now, I know it's attack, but that's what this guy still does. Okay, second skill, real simple. When you're attacking a city or stronghold, you can just do 5% more damage. Awesome, we'll take that. Whenever their troop launches a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to reduce the target's defense. Okay, so now we're debuffing the defense. Okay, so this guy does some things that help in the field, helps obviously in the rally and the counter rallies, all the different things that you do because he's got a defense reduction. He's got an attack reduction. Okay. This commander's troop takes 15% less skill damage. That's great for when you're being swarmed, when you're being when you're setting a counter rally and you're being swarmed, when you're in the garrison, you're being swarmed, when you're in the rally and you're being swarmed. You want to take less skill damage because that's ultimately what kills rallies and garrisons. Okay. And the only caveat to that is that you do 30% less skill damage, which is fine because now we got all the commanders that don't do skill damage. It doesn't matter. And also cavalry units gain 15% march speed and 40% attack. Okay, ramping up the stat sticks. He's already got the normal damage coming from his active skill. He's already got counter damage. And now we're going to give him a little bit of march speed and 40% attack, okay? This is still, for this commander, he's still one of the best skills in the game, okay? And I'll get into this later because we're going to talk about another commander that does stuff like this for Attila that's going to blow your mind in the field. Because all of a sudden now we've got a field situation going on with Attila. This commander's troops contain just cavalry. That's why it's always important in rallies and garrisons with him. You do not throw mixed troop types in it. Do not. You nerf the best skill he's got. Okay? Whenever it launches a basic attack, it has a chance to gain a bonus to damage dealt. 25% chance for 50% bonus, 25% chance for 100% bonus. There is a 10-second cooldown. That's the only bad thing about it. This is also really good on his expertise when you're rallying and garrisoning. Okay. Number one, you can't be silenced. That's amazing. Okay. You can't be silenced by anybody, by anything. It's awesome. CPO Milianis can't silence this guy. Okay. Guan can't silence this guy. And so Flavius can't silence this guy. So all these different commanders that do a silence, he can't be silenced. Their troops deal 20% more normal damage to troops with less than 50% units remaining. This also works for being swarmed. Any troops that are hitting you, any troops that you're doing any damage to, counterattack, any kind of damage to, AoE damage, whatever that might be, if they're under 50% remaining, then you're basically going to do 20% more normal damage. That's why this guy ramps up. That's why when you do a city with this guy and you're rallying a city and he gets below 50%, he's still kicking out so much freaking damage. Okay? Because if the garrison is below 50%, he's just ramping up more damage. And then when you exit combat, it gains a 50% march speed for 3 seconds. This is great when you're getting out of trouble. Plus, nobody wants to hit you in the field. So when you're getting out of trouble, nobody wants to hit you in the field. And that's why this guy works. Those are the skills. Pretty simple and easy. We should all know them and memorize them, okay? Talents. You ready? This is it. I have not changed this talent tree in 3 years. It's the same talent tree I use for rallying, for garrisoning, and for field, okay? He does so much. The attack tree is amazing. Honestly, for normal damage commanders, smite commanders, like Luce, the attack tree is great. You do 6% more damage. You also take 3% damage. That's like a 3% damage that you get from that skill. Over here, this commander's troops gain 2.5% bonus to damage dealt every 10 seconds, up to 10%. Up to 10% damage, all damage. So when you're running rallies and garrisons, this is great. It's also not that bad in the field, because if you stay in combat in a back and forth fight, you're just ramping up your damage every 10 seconds. If you can stay in the field and stay hooked up for 30 seconds or 60 seconds or a minute and a half, which happens a lot when you're back and forth field fighting in a murder ball. It happens a lot. You're just ramping up your all damage. Okay, and then this is fantastic. Martial Mastery, this commander's troops deal 6% more normal damage of all types, but also deals 3% less skill damage. You don't care about skill damage. Awesome. We'll just take 6% more normal damage. And just about every commander you run this with, 6% more normal damage basically means 6% all damage. That's how Attila works. I always do Buckler Shield. You take 9% less counterattack damage. You got a couple of things here with some attack and a 1.5% attack here. And then you go into the cavalry tree. This is pretty standard. In Blazing Shield, you want to take less skill damage. In the field, in the garrison, in the rallies, it doesn't matter. Even if you're rallying a Gorgo garrison, you want this on, because if you get swarmed, you want to be able to survive. The only way to survive is to mitigate the skill damage that all the marches hitting you are doing, and allow your allies and allow your friends to get their reinforcement marches in the rally and keep it alive. Okay, so you run over here, and I love the rage. Okay, whenever this commander's troops launches a basic attack, it gains 9 extra rage. This comes into play when we run him with combo commanders. Okay, and I'll explain that later. Okay, so those are your talents on this thing. So now we're gonna look at this thing and say, okay, what does this mean? All right, well, we can talk about a couple of different areas that this guy does crazy things. Subutai is out now, and since Subutai is out, he is the de facto king of the rally with Attila. Attila primary, Subutai secondary. Okay, the main reason why is because Subutai does all this combo damage that's enhanced by normal damage. Okay, it says right here, combo damage is affected by bonuses to normal damage. First thing it says. Well, guess who does a ton of normal damage on his active skill? 30% more. You get it for 4 seconds. That way you run Attila primary, then you hit people over the head with this massive 3,000 damage factor that he does on his active skill. That's a huge thing for Subutai. Okay, you got march speed bonus and all that stuff. We've seen the rallies, guys. I can go through just countless. I rallied in Kingsland. No lie. I rallied in Kingsland nonstop for like 48 hours. I think I put up 68 rallies total. It was absolutely crazy what this thing did. Okay. And there's really no counter to it. I put out a video before. If you're in Artifact KVK and you can run a Gorgo with CY, you can counter it a bit and it does okay. But other than that, you're just crushing these things. I mean, Eleanor, Hera, are you serious? Like, you're going to get wrecked. And I'm not going against a bunch of slappies here. I'm going against 1818. I'm going up against good garrisons and good field marches and things like that. So that's the rally. It's absolutely crazy. You've also got the Martilla rally that we talk about, where you put Martell primary in a artifact KVK. You use Attila Martell if you're running Cavs mainly. You can work on an arch set. The beauty with Attila is, and this is why everybody needs to understand, that it's not just for guys like me who have crazy arch armaments, okay? This thing over here is amazing. Pulverized, that's what you want for that slot. But it doesn't matter if you have these crazy inscriptions on your arch armaments. You can have a really good cavalry arch set. You can run this guy in the field. You can run him on counter rallies. You can run him in a lot of days. You can run city rallies, because odds are when you're invading a zone or you cut the enemy, you need more than just like your meta Attila rally that's in your kingdom. You need like 4 or 5 guys running rallies, 4 or 5 guys or girls running rallies nonstop on cities. And as long as you've got a pretty good set, then you're cooking. Okay, so with that being said, we've talked about what he does. We've talked about how important he is. Okay, but some things that are going to start blowing your mind is how good he can be in the field, because that's been the biggest thing when it comes to Attila. It has straight up been the biggest thing when you have Attila and you're trying to figure out exactly how to run him in the field, because he really doesn't have any pairing you can run him with. Okay, so with that being said, let's go in here, shall we, and look at this. All right, this is Attila without artifact. We're going to keep this simple and easy. Without artifact, when you're running Attila, first and foremost, you rally Attila Subutai. 100% rally for Attila Subutai, okay? That's also for the city rallies that you're running. It's no longer Attila Takeda, it's Attila Subutai, because now you can take down 120 mil, 130 mil power cities, and you can do that. Let me show you this here. You can do that without worrying about it. Like in the past, it was like, hey, you don't want to rally Attila Takeda because it's going to take too many sevs, even though it dishes out a bunch of sevs. You don't want to rally Attila Takeda because it's just too hard on 120, 130 million power city. Well, now that's all changed, okay? I've got a report in here, and let me see if I can go find it. I've got a report in here on a city rally I did against, let's see, city rally I did against, who was my guy? There it is. Okay. This is against God Leviathan, okay? We ran this rally and got him to about half HP. All right. He was off territory. He was holding king, and he could easily switch tags. But I always like to put pressure on players. Okay. I always like to put pressure on them to see if they'll make a mistake. And God Leviathan made a mistake. Okay, because what he would have to do is he'd have to pass king, he'd have to drop tag, and then he'd have to join the territory, the alliance that he was on territory with. Well, that alliance was 1818. He was in a different kingdom. And I was like, I'm going to put up this rally. We're going to run it. And it got to about half health. He passes king, he drops tags, and he stayed tagless for about 30 or 45 seconds. So it took him a little while to get into that alliance. In the meantime, he took about 10 million power of deads. Okay, and I was really ramping up the trades, starting to just hammer the trades. And if he would not have, this is a 200 million power player, y'all. If he would not have dropped tags, if I would have run him to burn his city, he would have literally taken about 28 million power dead, 2.8 million power. And this trade would have gone 2-1 in my favor. So now Attila Subutai can rally massive 200 million power cities. Okay, so now you can run Attila all the time on city rallies, not just for the 100 million power and below, but now you run them with Subutai, you can take anybody down. This thing will trade positive against Wildline and Mr. Hope. 2 billion power players. It doesn't matter. If you run it to sad face, or I'm sorry, if you run the city to where it burns and you have enough range, you'll rip so much power off of them. They will never do that again. I don't care if they're 2 billion power. They don't want to take 60 million power in deads in one rally. They don't want to do that. Okay, so this thing will murder any city. I don't care what the power is. As long as you've got the reins, you will crush it and you will trade positive. Okay, because you can only fight with so many troops in your city. You will trade positive every time. That's my point when it comes to this. You can rally billion power cities and you'll trade very positive and give them insane deads if you can get it reinforced. All right, so those of you Krakens out there, don't get too comfortable. All right, because anybody can huck this up, take the field, and make sure and give you a ton of deads. So that's part of the city rallies that we talk about with Attila. We'll come into this and we'll just stick with Attila Subutai. You can technically run Takeda up here if you want to on the rallies, on the city rallies. That's fine, okay? When you're running without an artifact, okay, this is what people have to understand. In the field, all you really had was Attila Takeda. And you could run that, okay, especially if you were going to run a bunch of Smite commanders. Like if you were going to run Gorgo and Scipio Milianis along with William Wallace and Luce in the field, like I used to do this all the time. I got a video about it in how I could actually put the burn effect of Takeda on the targets in the field and then just hammer them with Smite. And it actually worked really, really well. But that's very unique. I was running 4 high damage Smite commanders. It's very, very unique to do that. Now you can do it a little bit more with combo. So this becomes a little bit viable if you're running like an Arthur William or an Arthur Phillip, and then you're running Wallace with let's say you're running Wallace with Scipio Milianis and Gorgo with Luce, or you're running Luce with Alex and Wallace with Scipio Milianis along with Arthur. Arthur does combo, and if you're putting burn effects on the target, it is really, really good. So that is viable, but that's not what I'm talking about. This doesn't matter. Let me tell you what the best march I found was in the field without an artifact. Are you ready? Because this is going to blow your mind. Attila with Phillip. Put this thing right over here. First and foremost, not just a, hey, this is good and you can run it. Not just a, hey, yeah, it's my like 3rd cav march. You can kind of run it and that's okay. No, this thing traded as well or better than all of my big marches. And I've got big high damage marches. I got big infantry. I got archers. I got cavalry. I got it all. And this thing traded better. Let me show you what this thing did in some case. Look at the sevs this thing did. All right. And the point I'm trying to make here is I couldn't believe it because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I'm running high damage marches. They're going to do more kill points. Even though my Attila Phillip might trade better, they're going to do more kill points. That wasn't the case because I was comparing all these kill points to what I was running with my other marches. And 9 times out of 10, my Attila Phillip in a murder ball setting, back and forth fighting and pushing the enemy and all that, it was doing the same amount of percentage as far as your ratio, but it was doing more kill points than anything else. Attila Phillip is the truth, y'all. It is wild what this thing does. If you don't believe me, just try it. It's crazy. And if you really think about it, let's think about this for a second. Okay. Phillip's great. Okay. You can put Phillip behind Arthur. You can put him behind anybody. Phillip might be the best commander in this game, like legit the best commander in this game. When you see Phillip, okay, and you look at his active skill, you're going to take 20% less damage and deal 40% more damage. You get these numbers, but you multiply by 2 for your own troops. Plus you're buffing 4 other marches of your allies. Okay. So you have serviceability and you have a buffing march that's supporting all your other marches. However, you guys got to think about this. Phillip is hard to use sometimes because unless you run him primary, you don't take advantage of the all damage that he does for your big skill damage or your big smite damage or your big active skill on a commander behind him unless you run Phillip primary. If you run Phillip secondary, he's still great. Don't get me wrong. You run him secondary to Arthur, he's great. You run him secondary to Zuge, he's great. You run him secondary to Ragnar, he's great. You run him secondary to Luce, he's great. However, you want to try to run this guy primary. If you run him secondary, this right here with the 40%, it is more efficient with Attila than any other commander. Let me say that again. He is more efficient with Attila than any other commander. Okay, let's go into his other skills. Even though he gives 35% attack, you'd rather have defense or health for the other unit types. 35% attack is just fine for cavalry. March speed is out of control. Okay, if you have 2 different troop types, you do the more march speed and take 50% less damage. But we stick with one troop type, cavalry. 30% more damage. 30% more damage. Okay. And then you come over here, and whenever you're on troops are on the map and it launches a basic attack against a troop on the map, it has a 10% chance to deal direct damage. Okay. This is the only thing that is not synergistic with Attila because this is considered direct damage or active skill damage. I have to say active skill. This is considered skill damage. Okay. Well, Attila nerfs his own skill damage, but it's not that much. I mean, you're just not doing that much. So you have a little bit of mitigation here. That's the only thing disjointed about this pairing of Attila with Phillip. All right, but you go into his expertise, 40% chance to use the expertise again of Phillip's, and a 20% chance to use the other commander, which is Attila. Here's what I'm saying, and here's why this works. Out of all the commanders here, Huo, Luce, Juan, Arthur, Zuge, Nevsky, Belly, Ash, William Wallace, CPO, Joan, Shazar, it doesn't matter, Ragnar, it doesn't matter. They all load up big active skill damage. Okay, when they use their active skill, they do big damage. Okay, well, that's deficient because you're trying to get the all damage that comes from his active skill. You're trying to get that to pop on the active skill of the other commander. When you run him secondary, you can't do that. It's just, you can't do it. It's hard to do. And so from that standpoint, the only way you can get that to bridge is if he runs his proc on his second skill and he runs it again, and then 2 seconds later, you're able to, for the primary commander to come back and you got it on Huo and he deals big damage, or you got it on Ragnar and he deals big damage. So it's very deficient in trying to get that to work. However, I'll say this once, and it's the most important thing you'll hear in this video. Attila is the most efficient commander when it comes to dealing damage every second. Okay, because he's not loading up for big active skill damage. He's just dealing white numbers every second. Every single second. Okay, he's dealing white numbers and he's getting more of those for 4 seconds after his active skill. He's dealing white numbers all the time. He's doing some debuffing. He's adding more attack. When this procs, he's doing more white numbers because of all damage. Attila loves all damage. He loves all damage. Well, Phillip gives more all damage than anybody. Okay? He gives a 30% damage bonus that's perpetual. And then he does this. When he does this, when he sits behind Attila loves it because Attila's just doing damage every second. So you're maximizing your efficiency of running damage when you get the 40% more damage, especially when he procs twice, because Attila's just doing damage every second. He doesn't have to wait on an active skill. He's just doing damage. He's a damage dealer. And people used to love Attila Takeda in the field back years ago because it did more sev wounds and it did more kill points than any other march. Well, guess what? Attila now does more kill points than any other march. I'm telling you. I couldn't believe it either. Just try it and run it. If you're talking about kill points and you're talking about inflicting sevs in the field, and you're going to do a defense reduction, okay, that's good for everybody. And you put him with Phillip, and Phillip's going to be buffing 4 other marches. And all the things that it does now, all of a sudden, Attila has a field march. It's a meta field march for kill points. It's a meta field march for trading. And now it does buffing and debuffing. Okay, so now Attila is not a selfish commander, and you put Phillip with Attila. It's wild, all right? Counter rallies are pretty easy. You run Attila Takeda. Attila Takeda can go here for rallies and rallying cities. It can go here for field, and then it can go here for counter rallies. Those are kind of the best things you want to do for counter rallies. You can also put Attila Subutai for the counter rally. That's going to do really, really well. In fact, let me just do this. There's your counter rallies. Attila Subutai is great. Okay, it's prickly. It does a ton of damage on the rally that you're countering. It's fantastic. Okay, for rallying, there you go. Attila Takeda and Attila Subutai, best rally in the game. That's the best rally in the game you can get right now going into April of 2025. Okay, in the field, you run Attila Phillip and Attila Takeda. Attila Phillip, meta field march. You don't believe me? Just try it. Just try it. I've had multiple players come to me and say, wait, does that really work? And I'm just like, bro, just try it. Even if you just have regular scuffed archer or arch formation armaments, just try it. And they come back and they're like, holy cow, what just happened? And that's what makes this thing so crazy. Okay, so let's go into the next thing that we talk about with Attila and his loadout here. Now we're going to go with artifact. Okay, and we're going to change this up a little bit. There we go. So on the rally, okay, even with artifact, this is still pretty high. However, you can run Attila with CPO Aemilianus. Still does a ton of damage. Okay, it's almost as good as Attila Subutai. Almost, but it's pretty freaking good. All right, you can run, where's he at? You can run Scipio Emilianus with Attila behind. You infantry commanders, you know this. You can run this, and it is fantastic. This is more efficient because Attila's primary is always going to be a little bit better. Okay, but this is fantastic. It works out really, really well. That's what you're looking at for your rallies, okay? In the field, of course, you can run this, but now you can also bring in Luce. Get you some. Some of my best trades, and I always used to argue, the most powerful march, arguably in the game, is Attila with Luce, full-on arch set. It is so insane that how well it does. And let me see if I've got some reports from this, because I've been doing this for over a year and a half now, running this march, and it is so freaking good. Let me just see here on my favorites. I should have it somewhere. Here it is, Attila with Luce behind him. It's just, they work so well together. It's so good. And by the way, on that 4-skill Attila proc, it procs more often because Luce is doing his combo, or he's doing his extra basic attack that makes anything he's with proc more. Do I have some more in here? I got another one here. I mean, it's just wild. It's wild what that march has always done for me for over a year and a half now. Attila Luce with an artifact is insane. Okay, but a lot of people have to keep Luce with their infantry. So it's very rare that that march comes into play, okay? So back over here on the list here in the field, you can run Attila Takeda if you're running more smite, okay? And now that if you're running combo with Arthur primary, you can run that as well, and it works out okay, all right? The counter rallies, here's where it's a lot of fun. Martilla, Attila Martel, insane. Pakal Attila, insane. You can also run Attila with Subutai back here. You could run Attila with Scipio Emilianus. These two down here do more damage to the rally you're countering. These punish the swarmers, and I mean punish. Okay, you can even run Henry with Attila. Little disjointed because it's going to nerf Henry's damage he does on the rally, but it's very, very prickly. It's really, really good. And so one of the things I wanted to also consider when you run Attila Luce, you can also run Luce Attila. Okay, it's the same kind of concept. It's just not quite as good. Okay, and so from that standpoint, that's how you run some of these things. In the garrison, okay, Cav garrison, infantry garrison. Attila, these are the best garrisons that you can find even today going into April of 2025. My Gorgo Attila to this day is still undefeated. It is still undefeated. Never been beaten. Never. And I can go back through to a year ago. This thing, let's see. Oh, here it is. I'm just running it over here. This was against 2934 in Kingsland. Yeah, get you some. And it wasn't even really swarmed. All right. Do I have some more here? Attila Gorgo. There you go. This one actually traded well with me because I couldn't get any reins and it got beat. But here's another one. It's absolutely going to wreck. Here's a Scipio Emilianus with Henry. This thing is absolutely undefeated and always has been. Let's see, where's the rally here? Or is this just a swarm? Oh, GG. They're just swarming that. Yeah, 127,000 deads. Let's go. And then here's a Gorgo with Hera. That's not what I'm looking for. Attila with Pakal. I wonder if I've got my Attila with Gorgo on any other situation. Oh, here he is again. Against a Scipio Emilianus with Attila. Just undefeated. Still undefeated after a year and a half. It's just still undefeated. This one I got killed and I still crushed it. Okay? I literally got my flag smoked, but overall I still crushed it. And I didn't know if there was any other ones. I don't think so. I think that was it. So that particular setup with Attila Gorgo, for me and how my setup works, it is still undefeated. This thing right here is still undefeated. And for you infantry players, Gorgo Attila, you already know. You already know how broken it is. So with an artifact, this is how this stuff all sets up with artifacts. Okay, so to kind of summarize everything of what I'm saying and why the Attila guide was needed is because it's really, really simple. Without an artifact, he is the rally meta, okay? Without an artifact, he is the field meta with Phillip. Crazy, I know, okay? Without artifact, he is the counter rally meta, either with Takeda or with Subutai, okay? With an artifact, He's the rally meta, either with Subutai, even if you don't care, you're not really running an artifact, or you put Scipio Milianis behind him or run him behind Scipio Milianis. With the artifact, he's a field meta with Phillip or with Luce or Luce Attila. Okay? With an artifact, he's a garrison meta with Attila Gorgo and Gorgo Attila. Absolutely wrecks. And if you really want to like punish people for swarming, you can run Attila Martel or Martel Attila. It's crazy in the garrison. You just got to keep it mono troop type. All right. And the counter rallies with the artifact, Martilla, awesome. Attila Martel, awesome. Pakal with Attila, awesome. Okay. Even Henry with Attila. It's crazy. So like it or not, this needed to be done. We needed to do an Attila guide. Let's all forget, just for a second. We're all going to forget that Attila came out 4 years ago. Let's pretend this dude came out 6 months ago. We'd all be maxing him. 100%. We'd all be maxing Attila. All right. And that's the point I'm trying to make with this is forget this guy came out 4 years ago. If you don't have him maxed, you're missing out. You can't rally. You can't garrison with him. And now with Phillip, you can't field with him. And anybody that's got him maxed that's just sitting on the bench, just go look at your cavalry arch stuff. See if you got a set, because whether it's an artifact KVK or not, you can put Phillip behind Attila and you'll do more kill points than any other march you got. That's the proclamation I'm making. It is that crazy. So I'm your boy Chadsky. I make proclamations like this every now and then, but I'm just telling you what I've seen and I'm telling you what works. I'm giving you real rock life experience. And that's the main thing I wanted to get across today is that now with Phillip behind him, Attila is not just rallying garrison, he's field meta. So get used to it, y'all. And with that being said, have a great day. Consider subscribing, like the channel, like the videos that I do, be a part of our community. The Discord link is in the description, and we'll do more videos like this in the future. Have a great day, everybody.